Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome everybody to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the hockeythinktank.com, a website for all players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here. We are talking all nutrition with Wendi Irlbeck. And this was a phenomenal episode. So many tangible things that we can all use to just be a little bit better nutritionally. And we went through so many different things, like so many things that could just help, right? We get into the science of stuff, but like we get into the tangible stuff that can really help people, get some better food in their body. So this was an awesome episode. Before we do get over to Wendi, though, let's bring on another awesome guy in one, Jeffrey Jehu Levechkio. Vex, what's up today, dude?
Man, this weekend was wild. I had the best human staying at my house. It was awesome. I had a great time.
Who was that, Jeff?
It was the one and only Christopher Ryan Topher Scott.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
No, guys, Toph came in town. The NCAA tourney was in St. Louis this past weekend. So Toph came and stayed in town for two nights here. We got to hang out. Put him through a little mobility workout one morning, got those old bones nice and lubed up and ready for a big weekend to do the starting lineups.
My psoas.
Psoas is extremely tight on this kid. Trust me, guys. You don't even want to know. Could have played the guitar on those things, but had to get him warmed up because he did the starting lineup for the University of Michigan. Ever heard of him? Toph was 2-0 on the weekend in his starting lineup calls, which is awesome. Unfortunately, my Western Michigan Broncos were also in the NCAA tournament. They got butt clapped. They were up 2 goals going into the third, and unfortunately lost to Michigan State in overtime. Huge boof, but the boys played hard. Coach did a great job. He's been on the podcast multiple times. Coach Pat Ferschweiler. He's doing unbelievable things at Western. So sad weekend for me and my Broncos, but great weekend for Toph working at Michigan last year. And our really, really good friend of the show, Brandon Naranjo, my former roommate in juniors, one of my besties, was so absolutely like chilling, goosebumps, tears for me watching him coach practice as the head coach of University of Michigan, even though this is his 3rd year. I hadn't seen him do that yet. Watching him coach in a game, watching all the boys go nuts when he won, being down there around the guys in the locker room and down below and seeing how much everybody cares. And it was a really cool weekend for me to see Nar absolutely slay.
It was awesome, man. It was awesome. And you can probably hear from my voice, like doing the starting lineups, like takes a lot out of my voice. Like roasts. I gotta get the boys going here. And so like my throat's been hurting, but it must be done. It must be done.
First thing Nar said to me when I saw him after they beat State, he goes, Toph's got to come to Minnesota, man. First thing he said.
I think that is going to happen.
That's awesome.
For sure. Yeah. No, it's cool, man. I mean, when you work somewhere, and you're that into it, the relationships you form with everybody transcends. And so, yeah, to be down in the locker room and see the boys again, especially after they won, going to the Frozen Four, 3rd straight year in a row, just so happy for them and so proud. And when you're there and the ups and the downs and what people have been through, it just matters that much more when the bottom of the iceberg and how everything came to be. And so it's a group that, they've hit a lot of adversity. It's a group that had to come together and they certainly did. And it's really cool. It's going to be an unreal Frozen Four, between Michigan and BC's playing against each other, and then BU and Denver. I mean, you're talking 4 heavy hitters in the Frozen Four. I thought Cornell was going to edge out Denver. I think we talked about this last time when we had Tony on, but I feel bad for the boys in red. They played really, really good. but just ultimately couldn't get the W at the end of the day. But they had an unbelievable year. They should be very proud too. So, but yeah, I'm heading up to Minnesota for sure, and looking forward to see the boys again.
Gonna have to do some like gargling with lemon and
I know,
salt or something.
Train my voice.
Bumblebee.
What'd you think? What'd you think of the video that I sent you? Do you think it was pretty funny?
I loved it. Toph sent me the video of the starting lineup call for the second round, the Saturday game, and awesome, bro. The energy, love it. Watching the boys go nuts, like nothing
Those
better,
are my boys.
man. Nothing
Those are my
better.
boys for sure. Pivoting into this conversation, dude. This was awesome. It's a great get. Unbelievable conversation with Wendi. Not only was the information really, really incredible, but also, dude, she's just like a really good person, like a phenomenal human being. And I think that really comes out with what she's saying. Like there are certain people, and we can kind of tell this, and having done 300 of these, there's been a couple people that we've had on that have like had a little bit of an angle, like I'm not really doing this for the people that I'm speaking to. I'm kind of doing this for myself to promote what I'm doing or whatever. And Wendi's got a lot to promote because the work that she does is awesome. But like her goal in coming on the podcast was to provide some positive information that can help people lead better lives or for athletes to be better with their performance. And so like, yeah, that just kind of like radiated. And yeah, it was just like, again, we say it a lot, but like, I think with this episode, I think there's going to be a lot of things that people can take out of this that can help them be a better athlete, be a healthier person at the end of the day. And just a lot of things that will be able to help for sure.
100%. I mean, she dropped so many different things that, oh, hey, you can go to my website, check this out, and it's free. Free guide for creatine, free guide for protein, free guide for eating out, going out to eat with your family, free guide for this, free guide for that. And she has a service that she just recently dropped, and she didn't even talk about it. She just kept hitting us with, yeah, check out my free guide. She's somebody who actually wants to make a difference. She's somebody who actually wants to help all of our listeners and all the people that she works with. And it's very easy to see in this conversation. And also, like Toph said, we've done, 300 plus episodes now over 5 years or whatever it's been. And obviously, there's a ton of episodes where you can take things and use them in your life immediately. But like you eat 3 to 6 times a day, every single day. You take what she's talking about in this episode, take some notes, listen to it twice, whatever you got to do. And immediately, the second the episode is over, apply it. You will get better immediately, because it's something we do 3 to 6 times a day, or however many times a day you're eating and drinking and all these things every single day. Guys, I say it on the podcast all the time, and it's not a joke. I say it to my college teams. I say it to my junior guys. I say it to everybody. Most of you all have more skill than I did. I got super into different ways that could enhance my performance that back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s that most people weren't doing or were too lazy to do. Now more and more people are doing them. And it made such a massive impact on my career and helped me get a leg up and be able to be like Seabiscuit, if you listen to the Tony Adams episode, and get eye to eye with my competition, which is all I needed to pass them. And nutrition was a massive vehicle for change for my hockey performance. I'm telling you, if you do these things that Wendi talks about in this episode, day after day, week after week, month after month, you will see a massive positive impact in your ability to perform at a high level consistently.
Or if you're not an athlete, just to be healthy,
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. Well, before we get over to Wendi, let's thank some people. We got to thank. First of all, I want to thank our title sponsor, Gel Sticks. Go to GELSTX.com. Use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and you will get a discount on your weighted training hockey sticks. Jeffrey?
I want to thank Train Heroic. Train Heroic is the amazing app that allows me to train so many players at such a low price point. In the last week alone, I've had 2 organizations reach out to me that are going to be training with a couple of 100 players with me next season and some this off season through this amazing app. I cannot thank them enough for allowing me to make an even bigger impact on the hockey world for such a low price. If you're an individual, you can sign up for my 2024 off-season programming, whether you're lifting weights in the gym, you're old enough to do that, 14 plus, or if you're training at home and you're 13 or below and you want to still train stick handling, shooting drills, all that stuff in my preteen athlete program, or teams or organizations, reach out to me. I can help you offer more to your players. I can help you help your players get better while they're not on the ice. So Train Heroic has allowed me to do that now for the last 4 years since Schmaldemort 19, and changed my life and allowed me to make a big impact on the hockey world. So thank you to Train Heroic. Also want to say thanks to Cured Nutrition. Cured Nutrition is a CBD company I'm with. I take CBD twice a day, every day. You guys who listen to the podcast know this. Again, I have tons of people reach out and ask, why CBD? How does it work? What can it do for me? All of these things. All right. You can go to their website, curednutrition.com. They have a ton of valuable information about CBD and where it comes from and all these different things. Or don't be afraid to reach out to me. Instagram, hot male model, blue check mark at Jeff Lavecchio. I always get Toph laughing no matter how many times I say that. Any questions you guys have about CBD or supplementation or anything, please reach out to me. Or go to curednutrition.com, use my discount code GMBM.
Topher here, non-male model, to go on with the next one. So I want to talk to you guys about Sense Arena, Hockey Sense Arena. And this is an awesome product. And they shipped it out to Vex's house, and we got to play around with it a little bit last weekend.
Yeah, we did.
And guys, not only is this a really cool product, it's so much fun. It is so much fun, especially if you have somebody there with you and you're kind of doing things and almost competing against each other. But this is a virtual reality training tool. And we all know that ice time is ridiculously expensive. We all know that being on the ice too much is extremely detrimental to our physical and mental health. And this is a really fun and applicable training tool that can help you teach hockey sense, and it puts you in different situations. There's over 100 drills if you're a player or a goalie to use this. It's something that's obviously very new. I'd never really done it before. Vex had never really done it before. But dude, it is awesome. It's so much fun. And I think it can teach hockey sense, hockey IQ type stuff. And so if you don't have this is a great present. This is a great birthday present. This is a great holiday present, particularly for people. I said this on the last time, I honestly think in a weird way that I played a lot of hockey video games when I was younger. And I think it kind of helped me with my hockey sense, just seeing things. And obviously it's not totally applicable to the game, but in some ways it helped, right? Reading pattern recognition and just yeah, I won't say hand-eye coordination with the freaking controller because it's not really true, but I loved it. And this is very similar to that. It's so much fun. And it puts you in different situations with these drills that you do. And it's just really, really cool. So if you're out there, we have a partnership with Hockey Sense Arena. So if you go to hockey.sensearena.com, you can save $50 on an annual plan by using the coupon code ThinkTank, one word. And so encourage all of our listeners. Again, this is a bit of a newer product that we are partnering with, but it's awesome, man. It's awesome. So go to hockey.sensearena.com, check it out. Vex and I both used it. So much fun. Get it today. Vex, anything to add there?
It actually will help your coordination.
Think so?
100%. I mean, honestly, video games, and I don't want to say this because I don't want to take it as me saying go play video games, but video games do help your hand-eye coordination, your dexterity, your fine motor skills, depending on the games you're using. But this is something that will help with that as well.
Okay, cool. I like it. Also want to thank Helios Hockey. Helios Hockey, we love these guys, and they have a product that is also unbelievable. It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads, and with that, you get real-time data, real-time feedback on your play on the ice, particularly when we're talking about your stride mechanics And when we're talking about what we call and what they call actually a hustle score. So lights up every time you're moving, and can track a ton of different stuff. Again, data feedback is something we really believe in. And this is something that is very affordable, and very complementary to hockey development. And so go to helioshockey.com. And if you go there, we have a partnership with them, and you can get a big time discount if you are a new Helios user, and you'll also get that sensor that you put into your shoulder pads for free. So go to helioshockey.com, use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, a lot of think tank one words, and you will get a discount on your chip and on that plan. And then also want to thank icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for anything and everything coaching, education, phenomenal site. They have hundreds of drills, thousands of drills. I don't know why I've said hundreds like the last couple of times we've talked about it. It is thousands, in the thousands of drills, unreal whiteboard explanations on system, structure, habits, anything you want, from really high level hockey people. Also, they have the ability to draw up your drills digitally, send them out to your team, send them out to your parents, your players, whatever it may be before practice. Also, we have partnered with them to do a associations platform where you can get this for every single coach in your organization, build up a drill library, send practice plans to each other. Just a phenomenal tool, guys. Also, in this partnership, they have access to the Hockey Think Tank Parent Survival Guide. So if you do get the association platform, hockey directors, I promise you, you will have the amount of phone calls and angry emails that you get by sending this thing over to your parents. So go to icehockeysystems.com today and check out the association's platform. And finally, thank you to all listeners. We absolutely love you guys. We make sure that we say this every episode. We so appreciate your support for what we do. We continue to do this to add a little bit of positivity, provide a positive influence, and have an impact on the hockey world out there. We know it can be a pretty crazy, stressful, confusing place. And we just so appreciate your support. And if you can support us, the best way to do it would be to share our episodes with all of the people that you think can benefit from this. Share the episodes on social media, leave us a rating, leave us a review, shoot us an email, shoot us a DM on social media, providing us some feedback. We want to get better ourselves, and we love the back and forth that we have with you guys. And so if you can do that, also go check out the Hockey Think Tank community on Facebook. Go to community.thehockeythinktank.com. We have unreal, podcast things that we do on our community, our 10 questions that we do with all of our guests. That's housed in that Facebook group. You have the ability to watch us do short shifts live, which if you've done that, see how big a meatheads that Vex and I are, going through our short shifts. That's been a lot of fun. We do a monthly Zoom monthly Zoom the first Sunday of every month as well, where we get to hop on and answer your questions and just talk some hockey, talk some life with all the people in the community. So again, we're trying to do as much as we can to provide a positive impact for the hockey world here. And we love you guys, and you guys are going to love this episode. So many phenomenal pieces of information here from a nutrition standpoint and from a life standpoint from Wendi. So without further ado, here we go with Wendi Irlbeck. We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. If you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you can see all the available lines and all the available odds for all NHL games going on. That's right. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with the code THPN. New customers bet just $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See DKNG DraftKings.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast. She's down in Nashville, Tennessee right now, but she's from the state of hockey, Minnesota. Wendi Irlbeck. Wendi, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you guys doing tonight?
Phenomenal. Anytime I get anybody on here that wants to talk about anything that will help performance from a physical nutrition standpoint, I am obviously very excited.
There we go. All right. So I'll ask the first question here, but it has a Vex little twist. So Vex's big line is, if you got a Ferrari, you're not going to put like the cheapest gas inside the Ferrari if you're expecting the Ferrari to run efficiently. I think I've heard him say this on the podcast maybe 2,700 times in the 300 episodes that we've done. But just like really big picture macro, like why is for performance what you're putting into your body so incredibly important? And I know that's a very large, broad question, and we can dive a little bit deeper into the specifics after that. But I think for a lot of the listeners that aren't as educated like myself on why nutrition is extremely important, what would you say to people who are just kind of dabbling into it, maybe just getting into sports? Hey, maybe I should start thinking a little bit differently about what I eat, when I eat, because I know you're big on both of those things. Mm-hmm. What would you say to those people who don't really understand as much?
Absolutely. So first off, what I would say is sleep is king and nutrition is queen. And I'm a dietitian. So big picture, how much we sleep and the sleep quality directly influences our appetite. So a lot of the hockey players that I work with, it does not matter if they're 10U or older, if they sleep like garbage, they don't have an appetite that morning. And then they reach for low quality foods that are high in calories, low in nutrients. So what I would say is, number one, dial in your sleep. And then number two, make sure that you power up with protein and produce. And that sets the tone for the neurotransmitters for the day. So your energy levels, your concentration, your cognitive function, injury risk, disease, all of those things are directly influenced by what we eat.
So you said you're going to make poorer choices with your nutrition if your sleep is off. Can you go into that and how that works?
Absolutely. So there's actually studies that have been conducted, and those that slept less than 7 hours of sleep actually had a higher intake of low quality foods that were high in calories. They consumed an excess of 300 calories that were from empty calories. So when I say empty calories, for example, a donut, it has sugar, carbs, it has calories, but it's not going to be the equivalent of an apple that's going to have vitamin C. It's going to have fiber. There's a quality, right, with certain foods. And we don't tend to crave fruits, vegetables, lean protein when we're tired, stressed. We crave sugar and processed sugar, candy bars, donuts, energy drinks, a lot of those things. And the studies are very clear on that. So one way that people can get their hormones and their appetite in regulation is to actually start the day off with protein, because that balances out your blood sugar. So that's why it's really important. Like if you did sleep poorly, which a lot of athletes do, if you have a poor night of sleep, just keep in mind, you're more likely to crave and gravitate towards low quality food. So make sure you have a plan of Greek yogurt and berries. Although you may want the donut or something else, the yogurt and berries are going to make you feel better and they're going to balance you out.
And something else that, I noticed personally, it wasn't a problem for me when I was an athlete because my schedule wasn't as busy as it is now. But when I have the same problem when I go throughout the day working a lot, if I don't get in the right amount of meals and I go a long time in between meals, or let's say, I haven't eaten in 6 hours and then I get home, that is always when I'm reaching for something not good for me, or I might accidentally butt dial crumble cookie. I don't know how it arrives at my house, but it's never on the days when I'm eating every 3 hours or whatever I'm doing, sticking to a plan, eating enough protein. It's only all of a sudden I get this massive craving, but it's not really all of a sudden. It's because I haven't eaten in 4 or 5 or 6 hours. And that's when I make that bad decision to reach for something that's, sugary or empty calories, trashy foods. Is that the same kind of thing that happens? And what would you say to people that's happening to them often?
Absolutely. So we always tell our clients and athletes, kind of like pain management, once you get behind hunger, it is almost impossible to get ahead of it. So you always want to plan to have something in advance, whether it's having an RX bar, almonds in the car. You can have fruits on hand, string cheese, hard-boiled eggs. Everybody should have some sort of emergency plan so that if you do go multiple hours, you can eat something on the way home, so that when you get home, hunger is a little less ravenous, but you want to try and plan in advance. But it's very normal for people to feel overly hungry, and then they end up over consuming calories. And our brain remembers. Neurons that wire together fire together. So it remembers that time when you had sugar and you felt better, right? So that's why you're going to want to gravitate towards those things. And I just want to tell people that craving sugar all the time is not normal. So when people say that, I find that I challenge that like immediately, because it's not normal to crave those foods. That's your brain telling you that you have low blood sugar, deficient in magnesium, phosphorus, potassium. Like our nervous system tells us a lot about what's going on. And I know you guys know that too from a performance standpoint, but people need to listen to their hunger cues, and that I would rather an athlete or a person eat a little bit of something where they're feeling more full than go 7 hours without eating anything. And then they end up eating 4,000 calories, and then they sleep terrible. And then the cycle perpetuates from there.
Well, let me ask you about the sugar part, because like, it's funny, like, I have 3 small kids now. I have one that's turning 7 this month, and then a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And it's funny, like, I always feel like watching them, I feel like little kids at that age are like who we are before we were like interrupted by the world. That was, everything's so pure, right? And like they say what's on their mind, and like everything is just so whatever. And like it's a battle. Like every meal is like cereal for breakfast. Let's go. Cereal for breakfast. Or, I want sugar, like sugar, carbs, sugar, carbs, sugar, carbs. And so like, there's all these documentaries out there about how sugar is, like cocaine and worse than cocaine and all this kind of stuff, whatever. But like how you mentioned sugar, and it sounds like you have an opinion on it. And so I'm wondering how we navigate sugar just in general. I know there's good sugars, there's bad sugars, yada, 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 but like, or maybe, I don't know, I'm just spitballing what I've heard, but like, how do we navigate sugar in this world where it seems like there's processed sugar in freaking everything?
Absolutely. So I'm actually really glad that you brought this up, because for clarity, context is always key. And I actually had this conversation today with a couple of my hockey athletes in the North. And there were concerns of sugar. And I just want to be very clear. There are no bad foods. All foods fit, because we want to foster a healthy relationship with food. We don't ever want to shame anybody, because there are a lot of girls and boys that are susceptible to disordered eating, right? So we want to create a healthy relationship with food, and that sugar is not bad. It's just that excess of calories, processed sugar can be detrimental. So I go back to optimal and suboptimal. Those are the words that I use. So when I'm working with an athlete or a parent or family, coach, whatever, and they are telling me like, hey, he or she is tired all the time. All right, let's take a look at your nutrition. What are you eating? They list off highly processed foods for 80% of their nutrition. That's a key indicator. Hey, this is not optimal. We're operating at suboptimal. We need to bring this up a notch. And they agree with that, and they start to feel better. So to take the context component in, I think it matters. Having a donut while you ate beef, chicken, fish, veggies, fruit, no big deal. That's never a problem. It's a lot of the parents and athletes out there right now that are so predisposed to convenience foods because that's all we have available to us. I do challenge that only because it's my job, right, to show people that there is a better way to do things, right? It's just a modification of your routine. We have people spending 4 hours plus on social media. So if you tell me you don't have time to plan meals, I just don't believe you at this point. Like you can scroll and do it at the same time. But to get back, sorry, I get super tangential because I get excited.
All good.
But so sugar is not bad. There's a difference, like I said, between processed sugar, refined sugar, and sugar from fruit, right? And athletes need sugar. Sugar drives muscle contraction, sugar fuels, right, the brain and your muscles. So when we have a drop in blood glucose levels, your blood sugar drops, and we dip into glycogen, which an athlete could only hold between 300 and 500 grams. If we're training 4 hours a day, we're going to deplete through that really quickly. So we need more sugar, right? We need more carbohydrates. So I just want to make sure that, donuts have their place. They're a sometimes food, but an athlete that wants to feel good, wants to be healthy, strong, resilient, we want to be focusing on, 75 to 80% of the nutrition should be coming from whole foods, which we limit the processed foods. There's always room though for candy and, things like that.
I think, anytime we're doing, anytime I'm on Instagram and I'm doing a post and it's, all my posts, I try to gear towards like the masses, like as many people. And I always try and think like, okay, I want to explain this to the lowest common denominator, somebody who has no basic knowledge, because everybody above that will understand it at a higher level. So if there's anybody listening to this podcast right now, what is the difference between a whole food and processed foods?
That's great. I'm going to use my two turtles here. Just keep swimming. For example, say on my right here, I have my blue turtle, which is a Pop-Tart. And on my left here, I have the brown turtle, which is a peanut butter banana sandwich. Okay. Peanut butter, banana, and whole grain or sourdough bread. The point is they're the exact same item, if you will. They both contain sugar, right? Or I guess I could do jelly. I could just say, let's do this for simplicity. Jelly and bread, and then the Pop-Tart, straight sugar. The difference is that the sandwich is actually going to contain fiber, B vitamins if you go with a whole grain, right? And if you choose, they're both going to contain sugar. And then if you choose the Pop-Tart, it's just straight sugar. It's refined. There's no nutrients in it. That's probably not your favorite example. I'm trying to keep it super simple. The reality is that I've seen shockumentaries, charlatans say that, for example, grapes, there was some, I don't know, he's a charlatan. Grapes is a sugar bomb. I heard that and I was like, what? Grapes are hydrating. They have antioxidants. There's critical nutrients in them. They're not a sugar bomb. They have fiber, which that slows down the release of insulin, versus if you did just straight candy, that would be a sugar bomb. They're not the same thing. You're getting a large nutrient profile with the grapes. So I just don't want people to fear sugar. I want families out there to know that you need to have sugar before and after games to replenish the glycogen. Otherwise, your coordination, your puck handling skills, all those things decline. So sugar is not bad.
Right. And probably a better time to have a donut, would that be like right before a game? Like what is it? You've talked about a donut quite a bit. When would you say would be more optimal times for foods such as a donut?
Yeah, honestly, I would say outside of the context of games, because you really want to focus on high quality foods. It's not going to make you perform poorly, but I know my athletes report feeling better when they do the Greek yogurt and berries or Greek yogurt and honey. The donut really, again, introduces some inflammation because it's processed, right? So when you're training at a high level, you're experiencing exercise-induced inflammation. That's just the reality of it. So I argue I wouldn't want to introduce any inflammatory foods in the body. I would actually choose the anti-inflammatory foods, which will be your cherries, your blueberries, right? Those that contain anthocyanins, antioxidants to reduce muscle soreness, to reduce the swelling, the damage at a cellular level. So have the donut 48 hours outside of games. And I know that seems kind of, a little, tangential, if you will, but I really just want people to understand that there are some foods that are going to make you feel and perform better. And when you're training, you have showcases, you have a big couple of months coming up, that's the best time to dial in your nutrition, right? Champions are built in the off season. So what can you really do to be your best? And I just think that, donuts and candy and cereal, those are a lot of things that we see when we meet with new athletes. So I'm just trying to empower people that it's okay to have those things sometimes, but if you really do want to compete at a higher level and you're training for 4 hours a day or 2 hours a day, those foods aren't going to provide you what your body needs.
Makes a lot of sense. I like that. Well, one of the questions, we talk about, preparing to compete, obviously breakfast is a huge meal for that. what are you eating when you're first getting up? So like for you, if you have a competition at night, let's say you got a game at 6, 7 o'clock at night, what's good to eat for breakfast to kind of get your body ready and going for the day?
It's a great question. So what I've adopted is chew, nibble, sip. So it's a 4-2-1 nutrient timing strategy. So this is applicable to anybody out there that has, afternoon, evening game. You want to front load your calories as much as possible. So 4 to 6 hours out, you want to have a main meal that has every single food group, right? So you think protein, carbohydrate, fruit, vegetable, right? It's balanced, right? A balanced plate gives you balanced energy. So our favorites are going to be, eggs. Eggs are awesome. Eggs, blueberries. You could do some sweet potato. You could do a protein fruit smoothie. You could put oats in there, bananas. If you're also someone that, is struggling to maintain your weight, a good breakfast would be our Chunky Monkey smoothie. It's banana, oats, chocolate milk. You can even put egg whites in there. Pair that, with a turkey sandwich on the side, have a second breakfast. So I'm giving you lots of options. I never want anybody to try new foods on game day. So I really want people to experiment on the, practice day or what have you, but you want to think protein, carbohydrate, right? Balanced meal, and then grab a second breakfast. Always you need it because you're burning a lot of calories. And then, maybe for lunch, you could do a grilled chicken, rice bowl, right? An apple, string cheese, carrots, and hummus. Keep it simple. Again, nothing spicy, nothing fried, nothing high fat. You really want to focus on lean proteins and quality carbohydrates. Afternoon, you could do, turkey sandwich, or you could do grapes and string cheese. You could also bring overnight oats. There's a lot of super easy recipes that I have on my website that we recommend, for afternoon snacks. You could bring a protein bar. I'd rather, athletes pack more food than not have enough. And you want to try and front load the calories as much as possible. So that's why I'm listing off, all of these items, because you really don't have sufficient time to eat a full meal right before. So if you play at 7, you really should be having your last meal, if you will, around 4 o'clock.
How do you feel about like soup for one of those last meals? One of my really good buddies has been on the podcast many times. I'm sure he's listening right now. Paul Stasny played 8 billion years in the NHL. His dad's a Hall of Famer, and he'd always say soup on game day. You're getting sodium for hydration. It's something where it's already kind of broken down a lot of different soups where you don't have to chew it and have like these big pieces in your stomach to break down later on in the day, like the 4 o'clock time or something. Guys wake up from a nap. How do you feel about soup?
Yeah, if that absolutely works. And there's also, you could do bone broth, chicken broth as well. That would be one caveat. I think the protein is really important. So if you fill up with liquid, that's one concern, is just making sure we have enough carbohydrates and protein in there too. But soup, and then, you could do a slice of bread. Why not?
Love it. Another thing, you've talked about protein a lot in this episode, and it's something I'm constantly preaching to especially my younger athletes. I look back, and I've talked about this on the podcast many times. Like, I look back at what I ate as a teenager, even until probably my second year of junior hockey. So all the way until I was about like 18, when I really got into, oh my God, like when I eat better, I feel better. When I feel better, I perform better, and I sleep better, and I'm less groggy, and my brain works faster, and all these things. I used to eat like absolute garbage. I thought I ate enough. I never ate enough. I was probably eating 50% amount of the calories that I should have been eating from maybe the womb until like 18.
If you ate like garbage, what was I?
Yeah, well, you were definitely under eating and definitely not eating enough protein. I know that for sure. And one of the biggest things with younger athletes, especially, 13 to 18, they do not eat enough protein. So looking at protein, like how much do you suggest for like hockey players that are, you work with hockey players, they burn a lot of calories. They're skating sometimes 7 days a week for an hour up to 2.5 hours. They burn a ton of calories, and then they're lifting weights, the older ones. So how much protein should these athletes be looking to get into their system every day?
Yeah, it really depends. Any good practitioner would say that because it does depend on the time, the season, intensity, etc. So I would say 1.4 to 1.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So that is what we recommend our athletes, especially if they are doing 2+ hours. I have several 10U athletes actually that are training for 3 hours a day. It's crazy. So yes.
So for all of us that are listening on podcasts, I think Vex and I's facial expressions just went, huh?
Yeah, that's why I'm like food, all the calories, all the protein, all the carbohydrates. So for context, what I do is if you go to my social media or my website, I have number one, these simple just gems. All right, everyone write this down. 20 grams within 20 minutes of waking, 30 grams within 30 minutes of waking, a minimum of 20 to 30 grams at meals, 10 to 15 grams of protein at snacks. And I have all the specifics on what that exactly looks like, from eggs, beef, chicken, fish, steak, chickpeas, string cheese, Greek yogurt, etc. Those Okios Pro yogurts, they contain 25 grams of protein. You could grab 2 of those and you have 50 grams right there. So I challenge people when they say, I just can't eat enough protein. Well, you maybe just don't know, which I'm happy, right? We're happy to educate, and we got to get people eating more protein. But yes, my biggest concern right now is a lot of my young athletes. That's why they're all injured. And I'm always tweeting about it because it's just insane to me when they're training as many hours as they are, and then for how little they're eating. That's why I am pushing a lot of, core powers, grab and go options to help, these kids get in more protein because it is liquid. So, hard-boiled eggs, string cheese, egg bake, those are really awesome ways, high quality protein sources. Supplements cannot replace whole foods. You can train all you want, but if you're not eating enough leucine rich sources, amino acids, so leucine, isoleucine, and valine, those are commonly found right in dairy, beef, chicken, fish. So I am really always trying to get our athletes and families to gravitate towards the whole foods, because right now a lot of kids are eating protein bars, which I have a homemade protein bar recipe. It's delicious. I'm biased, but a lot of those protein bars are processed and they don't contain high quality whey protein. It's basically, a proprietary blend. And that's why, yeah. For First Forum though, they have some good ones too. So I have a protein guide out, but too. So anyway, I want to get back to your question here of just the protein intake. So what that means, so if people want to do any math, they can, but if you just simplify it and say, hey, I'm going to eat 30 grams at breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then 20 grams at snacks, and then maybe grab some chocolate milk, yogurt, and put my creatine in after training or after a game, boom, look at that. You've significantly increased your protein without very little thought, right?
Love that. I mean, there's something that I say to my guys. We look at, okay, how much protein do you need to be having right now? And then, okay, well, how many meals and snacks you get in a day, and divide it by that number. Well, you got to hit that at each of your feedings, and I don't care. Obviously I don't want you eating like crap, and I don't want you only having shakes all day. Like, we want to minimize those, but like, let's hit that number every single day. And moms and dads out there listening and players listening, it will change your player's life when you hit their protein every day. Like, I'm not kidding. I was like, ask Toph. Toph was in St. Louis this weekend looking at my nasty home gym that I got over here. And he's like, do you remember the first time you worked out? And it was with Toph. Toph's 5'4". I'm, like 7 feet tall, whatever, part of my life. And I'm watching Toph do a barbell bench press. I've never lifted a weight before. I pick up the thing. I'm like, oh, Toph did it. I could do it. And I dropped the thing on my throat. I almost choked myself and died. Yeah. And like, something that massively changed for me was training and learning to eat right. And getting enough protein is such a massive piece of feeling better, of being satiated, meaning that you won't reach for sugary foods all the time. If you're eating enough protein, you don't reach for those crappy foods as much because you don't need them. Your body's not craving them. Mm-hmm. Eating enough protein is so massively important. I cannot overstate this enough for moms and dads out there listening.
Oh, that is so well said. And your testimony too inspires, right? Because you're an athlete, you're like them, you can relate. Certain people, when they talk about protein, it doesn't resonate. So having lived that experience, you have a lot of leverage with that, Jeff. And you're a role model. I truly love your posts. You're one of the people I respect because not everybody talks about nutrition and protein in an evidence-based way. So I appreciate what you do. One thing you said that was really interesting, just about, lifting weights and feeling better, right, and transforming your life. So protein, right, builds, repairs, maintains lean mass. So I think a lot of people forget that we can lift and we can train all we want, but if we don't eat enough protein, you're not going to get anywhere. And there's a lot of athletes too. Bone mineral density matters. Parents, coaches, we have to care about that as we get older, because if we don't have lean mass, we also have weak bones, and then we break, we have fractures, we have diseases. So we are all fighting off age-related muscle loss. For every decade after 40, men lose 8% of their lean mass. And it's very scary and it's concerning, right? If we aren't lifting weights, we aren't eating enough protein, getting enough sleep, testosterone levels tank as well. So protein is very important. I feel like we could talk about protein for 2 hours.
I've been hearing people say that there's a difference in the way that your body breaks down the food when it's blended because of what happens in the blender, that maybe you lose some nutrients. Is there any truth to that?
Okay. Yes. I'm glad you asked this. So the blending process does cause your body to not have to digest those nutrients, but they're still in there. It's not that you're losing them. It's when you juice. That's when you're losing the nutrients. You're losing the fiber. So blending things just helps with the digestion process. I would say it's always better when we chew our food, kind of like meat. When people stop eating meat, their teeth will actually change.
Oh, wow.
So you want to make sure that, smoothies are not bad, but you still want to be chewing, and the digestive process is important.
Right. And because when you start chewing, masticating, that's when your stomach begins creating the acids and that stuff to break it down. So if I had eggs and then a smoothie to get in my veggies and carbs and fats and fruits and stuff like that still makes sense, right?
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes there's research to support too that eating protein first will help balance out your blood sugar levels. But carbohydrate digestion takes place in the mouth. So when you start chewing, that's important to note too. So a lot of people too, Jeff, that if they rely upon smoothies and shakes, that if they're struggling with their weight to lose weight, they'll never feel that satiety because the digestive process, right, it takes longer versus you chug a liquid, you just instantly hit the gut. Without that digestive process. Fiber is important too, because that also helps with appetite regulation. So that's why I love, if you're trying to gain weight, which we have a lot of athletes that are, liquids are great. But if you're trying to lose weight, I want people chewing their food.
Okay. That makes total sense. That really makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I think that's how I was able to start gaining weight too, and I tell my guys, make a smoothie, but don't drink it until after you eat as much as you can, for the guys who are skinnier, and they're not eating enough calories. Eat all your food and then have a huge glass of milk to get that extra 200 calories or whatever it is. But if you drink it during, you might not eat as much. And then we're kind of just, it's 6 of one, half a dozen. So yeah, I know that for me, having smoothies definitely helped me get enough protein in, and they also help me gain weight, big time. What are your favorite smoothie recipes for athletes? Do you have any? Is there a time that you like them to have smoothies, morning versus night, or does that not matter?
Great question. Yeah, I think smoothies can be a really great way to bridge that nutrient gap and getting in your protein and carbohydrates. We actually have our athletes do a smoothie in the morning and then a smoothie in the afternoon, especially if they're trying to gain weight or they're training for over 2 hours a day. But oftentimes, if you do half the smoothie with your eggs and then put the other half in the fridge and then have it when you come home later, that's another way to go. But we have a blueberry blast. I have several anti-inflammatory smoothies that have tart cherry juice, which we know also reduces muscle soreness. I have a chunky monkey one, which helps with weight gain. We have a surplus of smoothie recipes out there.
And are these all on your website? I know that you put so much free info, and obviously, guys, when you stick around to the end of the episode, we're going to give you all of Wendy's information, Twitter, Instagram. There are a lot of people on Instagram that put out quality information. I would literally put Wendi at the top. I mean, I've been following you for a couple of years, and on Twitter and on Instagram, I don't know if there's been a day that I haven't seen you post something that makes me think, makes me smarter, makes me learn something. And, I talk to all of you guys and kids. I'm talking to you right now. You guys have such a leg up on people like Topher and I. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have Instagram. I don't have TikTok, but I'm sure there's people out there that are putting out good info on TikTok, not just those stupid dances. Follow people like Wendi here, who is literally going to help you get better for free, right? Her website, her Twitter, all of that stuff. But going along with that, we're talking about weight gain. We're talking about smoothies. We're talking about how to get in extra calories. For those of you watching on YouTube right now, you can see her website at the bottom, nutritionwithwendi.com, WENDI.com. How about creatine? This is something that I get asked about. I had hit you up because I posted about creatine on my Instagram last week. I tagged you in for the assist so that you could share, your things that you've shared that I've found very valuable. Let's just go over creatine right now because every parent is going to ask about it. Every kid is going to ask about it. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, my thoughts are with the science, Jeff, and that it's safe, it's effective, it's proven, it's beneficial. And if you have a beating pulse, everybody should be using creatine monohydrate. It will not make you big. It will not make you bulky. It will not harm your liver, your kidneys, your bones. It will help you. And if we're here to get 1% better every day, it is one of the easiest, most convenient, low-cost ways that has been widely studied since 1928. Peter Chevron, this French chemist, I've read a lot, okay? And I just think it's amazing, Jeff, that, I understand some people don't have access to the information, but I have a creatine and youth athletes blog that I published in 2020, and it outlines over 60 studies talking about what creatine is, how it functions, how we can't sufficiently increase our intramuscular creatine sources or stores with food and dietary sources alone, which is why we need to supplement. And a lot of people just don't understand that it is not a steroid, although it functions like a steroid because it has such anabolic properties with maintaining lean mass, supporting recovery, reducing risk of injury, reducing inflammation. There's even great studies to support its impacts on traumatic brain injuries, and then even type 2 diabetes, sarcopenia, and the brain. So hockey being a high contact sport, again, if you're a parent or coach or someone that's out there and you're questioning creatine, you're still on the fence, I really encourage you to please go read the blog. I also have videos. If you don't have time to read the blog, I have the videos that outline the science. I cite the studies. There's not been a single report of any harmful or adverse reaction in kids as young as 6 months old. So I would put my credentials on the line. I'm a registered dietitian, certified sports nutritionist. I have a license. Like I said, have no skin in the game. Whenever I tell people I don't have any supplement ties, I have zero promotions. I'm just simply here to help people and to clear up that misinformation that has been peddled by charlatans and those that are too ignorant to take the 5 minutes to listen to a video, to watch a video. I do get passionate about it just because there are people out there that, despite seeing the information, they are still unwilling to give it a try. And I feel sorry for those folks just because, again, if this is going to help you, why wouldn't you utilize it?
Yeah, I obviously feel the exact same way. Everything that I've read, it's the most widely researched and studied supplement of all time. They've done the most studies on creatine as far as supplementation, like you said, back to the 1920s. It's something that, when I was growing up, when I was like a teenager, like 18, 19, and I started taking supplements, they used to tell us to cycle it. So you'd go a month on, a month off, a month on, a month off. And now that's not a thing. You take it every day because it's good for your brain health. It's good for all, power. It's good for recovery. It's good for all of these different things. And even if you're not an athlete, it's going to help you because, like you said, like it has all these brain properties. I made a post on Instagram about it last week, and I had tons of people that are older, that are, 60 plus, DMing me, telling me that they've started taking creatine as a neuroprotectant and these things for their brains. Like, guys, like creatine is one of the most widely studied subjects ever, supplements ever. But do you have an age that you start recommending people taking it, or How about males versus females, boys versus girls? Is there any difference?
No. So creatine is naturally, just to go back in the context. So creatine, right, is found in beef, chicken, liver. Those are all things we should be eating. Just like both males and females are two sexes, they both need protein, right? We need the animal protein. So no, there's not necessarily a difference. I would say with goals and then training intensity, duration, that does matter. So just from a dosing standpoint, we recommend our athletes. So the research is consistent with 3 to 5 grams post-training, right? Because that's when the most studies have been conducted, and that's the repair process. So you need to pair it with the carbohydrate because it's insulin mediated, means it requires a carb to be drawn into the cell, and maybe an extra 16 ounces of fluid as well, because creatine, despite people's craziness, the ISSN published a paper, Myths and Facts on Creatine. Creatine does not dehydrate you. Rick Kreider did a study in college football players, and he showed that creatine actually hydrates you, right? Because it draws water into the cell. So it's not dehydrating. It doesn't cause bloating. It's just that we have a lot of athletes not drinking enough water. People in general do not drink enough water. So of course, if you eat, you're going to get bloated if you don't drink water, because that's part of the digestive process. But I want people to know that from a dosing standpoint, a loading standpoint, it's unnecessary to load, right? We want to keep it as simple as possible. So rest day, training day does not matter. 3 to 5 grams. If you can do it post-training, post-resistance training, whatever, that's great. But if you need to do it at breakfast in your smoothie because that's easiest for you, perfect, have it at breakfast, but just make sure that you take it. We recommend mixing it in chocolate milk, smoothie, Greek yogurt. You can put it in your oats, mix it in. There's now gummies coming out. And actually in my blog, I talked about why I would be careful of the gummies just from a processing standpoint. We don't actually have enough data to support that those gummies being processed, kind of like the gummy vitamins. I do not want anybody using gummy vitamins.
Toph, looking at you.
Hey, my kids, if they don't get their gummy vitamins in the morning, it's like Celia, my little 2.5-year-old. She's like, Daddy, where are my Geigemins? I need my Geigemins. I need my Geigemins. So.
Okay, that's cute though. I took Flintstone vitamins as a kid, and you know what?
Yeah.
They were great. But
I think we all did.
Flintstones were the best.
They were the best. I just want people to, number one, they are expensive. The gummies are more expensive. So if you're challenging, hey, I don't want to spend money. Everything's expensive right now. It's crazy. So the gummies are going to cost more. So I want people to use the powders. Use a third-party tested creatine monohydrate. Never choose any supplement that has not been third-party tested because we don't know what's in it. It could have a banned substance, which could be your health, your eligibility. So third-party tested creatine, and I have a creatine download. It's a free creatine PDF on dosing, what brands we recommend, how to use it, what it is. So if you download the PDF, it's on the website in the blog.
Love that. Something that I tell my guys, because a lot of athletes, especially like older guys, they'll keep creatine in their gym bag. But the problem with that is a lot of them on their recovery days, or if they're not lifting, their gym bag's sitting at home. So then they don't take their creatine. So, I think there's more and more studies coming out that have done it on taking creatine at any time of day, not just right after. That's showing that it's almost as effective or just as effective. And if you're taking it every single day and not missing 3 or 4 days a week when you're not training, to me, I look at the overall big picture zooming out. Well, you've taken it every day this year versus somebody who took it after training, but they only did that, 200 days of the year. What do you think about that? And I tell them, have it at breakfast with orange juice or with, chocolate milk or like something, because then you're taking it every single day. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's great. What I do is I have creatine in my car. I have creatine in my gym bag. I have it in my laptop bag, like little canisters. So I think that people need to, number one, you build a routine, but just use it. It takes, I think, 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, if you look at any of the ISSN position stand papers, like the washout period, I don't worry so much, Jeff, about they're, taking it 1 month and they're not taking it. And it takes a significant amount of time. So I wouldn't worry about that. If you are someone, though, that is trying to gain weight and you're coming off of an injury, like this is important too, or you've had a TBI or a concussion, I would actually recommend increasing to 10 grams of creatine. A year ago, Dr. Scott Forbes, who's one of my good friends, he's one of the researchers in Canada doing a lot of the creatine research. He was sharing studies that 10 grams was actually beneficial, and it got them return to play quicker and then help them recover from an inflammation standpoint. So some of our athletes, I've actually had them split up the dosing where we do 5 grams at breakfast and then 5 grams after training, or 5 grams in the afternoon, whatever. That actually helped with some of their GI distress, but they also weren't drinking enough water. But by breaking up that dose, you're essentially getting 10 grams in total. And if you're plant-based or vegan, you need to do more creatine. I would say 10 grams it's safe. It's not harmful. So if you're listening to this and you're just someone that can't afford meat, or you don't like meat, or you're not eating a lot of meat, you should be doing 8 to 10 grams of creatine a day.
Wendy, has Jeff told you that when he went to the bar in college, he brought deli meat with him? Has that come up yet?
No.
Everybody else be slamming Bush Lights and stuff, and Vex has got his, Oscar Mayer turkey.
Not Oscar Mayer. I went no nitrates or nitrites. Okay, so I went with the better stuff, and it was always in my pocket. I think at this weekend at the games, I had deli meat in my pocket at one of the.
You did have good deli meat. Games. I actually had some.
You ate some
at your house, and it was quite good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you did. Hey, I wanted to stay anabolic. You know what I'm saying? Don't go catabolic, but.
Totally know what you're saying.
Two things I want to get to that you've mentioned quite a few times here in the last few minutes. Well, one, this will be the second question, but I'll just put it in your head. I want to talk about veganism, vegetarian, those Netflix documentaries came out, the amount of pro athletes who reached out to me and are like, I think I'm going to go vegan. I'm going to go vegetarian because of that stupid Netflix documentary. That's obviously slanted one side, just like a lot of, these food studies are, and there's bias and all these things. Right. So I want to get to that, hear your thoughts on it. But you've talked about hydration quite a bit. That's something we haven't touched on. A very minimal decrease in hydration equals quite a big decrease in your ability to perform. So what are optimal levels of hydration? What are you looking for? Maybe drinks that people should stay away from that they think are healthy, because that's something that I see a lot. Kids drinking Gatorade all day long. 42, 46 grams of sugar in a Gatorade, just like a soda, whatever it is. And they're drinking 4 or 5 of those puppies a day because the TV's told them, Gatorade's great for athletes.
Right. Loaded. All right. So it depends. I always tell our athletes, it doesn't matter what sport they play, or even, parents, active people, there's a time and place for a sports drink. And if you're not out there sweating, you're not in the southern sun, you really don't need to have a sports drink unless you're in play on the court, on the ice, sweating profusely outdoors. Because I did an internship at the University of Florida. I mean, these guys were losing 14 pounds in a given day. They needed the Gatorade. But Susie Q or Johnny Q, who, playing video games, you shouldn't be drinking Gatorade. I would actually discourage sports drinks during training and play. I would focus on during competition. So while you're training, you should be drinking water. You can add in minerals, right? If you think your potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, you can get that from, Element or Drip Drop if you wish. But I really think that the electrolytes, the Prime, I think that stuff is way overhyped and it's overpriced and it's completely unnecessary. We can salt our food, and we also eat pretzels and a lot of, salty snacks as it is. I want athletes drinking more water. You should have a minimum of 80 to 100 ounces of fluid every day. And a very easy way to break that up is, number one, wake up and drink water, have 10 ounces within 10 minutes, put a water bottle by your bed, set alarms in your phone. Because again, you're on social media for 4 hours. So there's no reason why you can't do some chugging on the side. Bring a water bottle, have a plan, 3 hydro flasks per day. A lot of our hockey athletes will have them do, 4 water bottles a day. They'll have 2 water bottles by 2 p.m. and then another 2 by 9 p.m. So set a simple goal for your schedule. And then for, hydration, urine, look at your urine in the toilet. Is it bright yellow, which it probably is when you wake up? We know you're dehydrated. We wake up in a dehydrated state. You should never see that bright yellow later in the afternoon. If you do, you definitely need to replace, for at least 16 to 24 ounces. So if you're someone that is losing weight during training, you're obviously losing critical minerals. So you would be somebody that could benefit from, doing the Element packet. You could do half of it, before and then half after, but 16 to 24 ounces for every pound lost during training. I really think that, sports drinks, body armor included, they are only appropriate during games and competition, not during training or mobility work or playing video games or at school. Completely unnecessary.
Love that. Love that. And coaches, you said something there that's super important. If you're a junior team or a midget team or even a younger team and you really want to dial this stuff in, you can go buy a scale, bring it in the locker room before your games, have your players weigh themselves and then weigh themselves after the game. And she gave you a template right there. If you lose this amount of weight, this is how much you need to put back in. And this is something we did in college. This is something we did in pro. When I was in college, I played a lot. In case you guys are watching the video, you see the captain on the jersey behind me. Not a big deal. As a sophomore, get off me. All right. There were times my sophomore year, a lot of times where I would lose 8 pounds a game that I would weigh in before and weigh in after. Part of that was I didn't eat a lot on game days. I felt better having a little bit more of an empty stomach compared to other days. But a lot of games, I would lose 8 pounds. And so we knew that. And if we didn't weigh myself before and after, I probably wouldn't have put in the right things to be able to play that many minutes again the next night back to back. So that's a simple way that, you go buy a scale from Walgreens, as long as it's the same scale on the same floor, that's what matters. You compare the weight before the game to the weight after the game, and that will give you some ideas of how much your players need to drink. And these little things add up to being really big things, especially now when kids are playing, I don't know, how many games are some of these kids playing? Till 50, 60, 70 games.
I saw a social media post last week, and I don't think I retweeted it. I probably should have, but it was a parent of a kid who played 80 something games this year at 10.
Oh,
and I was like,
Not surprised.
Well, when you were talking about the
4 hours a day.
10, yeah. Jeez Louise, 10-year-olds that much. That's insane.
Come on. All right. But now
I got one too when you're done, Vex.
All right. I want to hear her talk about the vegetarian stuff because this is another question that I get a lot from people who watch that Netflix documentary. And don't be afraid if you hurt some vegetarians' feelings here. That's okay. All right. I know. I know you're a good person. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, I'm a follower of Christ, but he calls us to be kind, but that doesn't mean the truth is being kind. Telling people the truth is being kind because you're helping them. I was actually just on a podcast, The Greenway Outdoors. They're on the History Channel, actually, and we talked about the veganism and creatine and animal protein versus plant protein. And I actually have a comparison too on the Beyond Burger versus beef. So that's on my social media too. I also have a blog on the website. So you can go read that to anyone who's listening and wants to know more. But again, context is key. We have a lot of plant-based and vegan athletes that they choose for ethical purpose, and that's completely fine. We respect that, right? I'm a practitioner. I'm here to help you with what you want to do. But if we're being evidence-based and the best optimal way to be successful as an athlete and to reduce risk of injury, illness, nutrient deficiencies, it is going to be consuming high quality animal proteins. And we know that there's more leucine in our animal proteins than plant proteins. In fact, you have to consume about twice as much plant protein to get the equivalent of animal protein. So bang for your buck, it makes more sense to reach for animal protein, and obviously each beef, chicken, fish, steak, eggs, wild game, bison. I grew up hunting, fishing, eating what you catch is awesome, but also we were designed to do that. And there's so much nutrition in our animal proteins and liver is awful. It's disgusting. But if you are someone that can stomach it, it's really high in creatine. So that would be one recommendation, obviously, is to add in as much animal protein as you can, but also we need to balance it out with our plants because fiber helps with, reducing risk of cardiovascular disease, gut health, and, chickpeas. If you are someone that's plant-based or vegan, do chickpeas, soy, tofu. You can do, fortified soy milks. Although, again, they're not going to contain the same amount of protein. 1 cup of almond milk has 1 gram of protein versus 1 cup of cow's milk has 8. And then you also look at the calcium, the vitamin D. And Fairlife is a really great milk. So it's lactose free for those that have a lactose intolerance. Greek yogurt, also lactose free. If you look at any of the labels, anyone that's listening, if you actually go to the grocery store and take just a second and you flip a label on Beyond Burger versus beef, what you're going to find is this laundry list, Rolodex of ingredients versus beef. It's just beef. And that's exactly what you should be reaching for. Same thing with the plant-based alternatives. I don't like them because number one, they're more expensive. They have more ingredients and less nutrients. So to me, it's like, unless you don't know, again, not being cruel, but I am a consumer. I obviously want to save my money and I want to be healthy. Why wouldn't I pick the option that's going to be healthiest and best quality cost for my family? So that's something that, just looking at the context, we should consume both plants and animals. I don't believe that carnivore is the way because you're missing out on critical antioxidants and also just nutrients that are anti-cancer. I don't think veganism is the way. I think that people have created a religion out of their diets, and that's not how it should be. A balanced, high quality diet contains foods from all food groups. And I think that a lot of people really have just lost it when it comes to these shockumentaries, as I call them. Like if you look at the Netflix, what was it? That came out in 2019, Game Changers. Terrible, so biased.
That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, they drew the blood right after someone ate a fatty steak or burrito and they found fat in the blood. Shocking. Why is that shocking to anybody? Like, I know I'm not trying to be cruel, but that is not surprising. Like, for example, there's a reason why people want you to do your labs fasted, right? Because it's a true reflection of baseline. So if you just look at the studies, they're very biased. They're cherry picked. Bill Gates, he has skin in the game when it comes to these plant-based alternatives. And that's
a
why
lot of skin.
Yeah. So I'm getting crazy and tangential about it, but I just really want consumers to be educated. I don't want you guys to be scammed. I want you to be healthy. I care about you. I want you to have the best information in front of you. And I just really encourage people to read labels, look at what your food is. If you can get local, great. Support your local farmer. It's always the way to go.
Awesome. One more question I have for you, Wendi, and I apologize if you guys talked about this as my internet flunked out. And by the way, I'm pretty sure, I'm not totally sure, but I'm pretty sure Vex was zinging me as my internet went out and I couldn't defend myself.
No, don't worry about it.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I'm going to listen back, my friend, and I'll get you on the next episode.
You're good.
And so if you guys did talk about this, then I apologize. Just tell me to shut up. But inflammation is something we're hearing a lot about, not only in the athlete field, but for regular physical health as well. Aging, cancer, disease, all these kinds of things. And you mentioned a little bit earlier, foods with antioxidants, berries and cherries and things like that are good for anti-inflammatory reasons. But if you can you just kind of explain where inflammation comes from potentially with foods, why it could be detrimental for us, and maybe how we can go about eating healthily to reduce our inflammation, both from an athletic performance standpoint, but also from just like a being physically healthy standpoint too.
Absolutely. It's a loaded question. So inflammation is a very normal process. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, scary, inflammation. They hear that and they just kind of lose it. We all experience inflammation, and that's a normal response. Like after resistance training, after training, you'll get inflammation if you stub your shin, right? Fluid swells, right? So inflammation in itself is a very normal process, right? And we want exercise-induced inflammation, like the recovery process, we want that to take place. So one thing when I'm asked about this is people that are doing high dose, like vitamin C antioxidants after training, absolutely not. That actually reduces the performance adaptations from occurring. So I really discourage people from doing these high dose vitamin C antioxidants. It'd be better if you just, consumed, walnuts, kefir, any fermented dairy products, things that are going to reduce inflammation. Despite misinformation out there, dairy does not cause inflammation. Yoplait or go-go squeezes, that causes inflammation because there's processed ingredients in there that expose inflammation to the body, right? And the body will, obviously combat that the way that it's designed. right? And if we're drinking enough water, we're getting enough sleep, we're going to experience less inflammation than others just because of our hormones. So cortisol, we could get really scientific with it, but I think for a lot of people, if you're doing fried foods, high sugar, processed foods, that causes a lot of inflammation in the body. Alcohol, nobody wants to have their alcohol taken away from them, but alcohol is a literal toxin. It's a poison. It causes inflammation. I'm not saying you can't drink, but what I am saying is fried foods, high sugar, alcohol, anything that is processed with certain oils. I feel very concerned about the seed oil situation just because there's a lot of back and forth on it. So not to get into it, what I will say is you want to consume extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, medium chain triglyceride. Those are the best oils to use. We recommend those. I recommend limiting cottonseed oil, soybean oil, some of these other oils that have a different omega profile, right? Or omega-3s, omega-6 fatty acids. What happens with inflammation is we have an imbalance of that. So we can overcome that by doing salmon, right? Cherries, berries, walnuts, things like that, that's going to help reduce it, and drinking more water, managing our stress levels, meditating. But we are exposed to lots of toxins in the environment wherever you go. I don't want anyone to live in fear. I think that there's some charlatans on social media that we've got people bringing coconuts through the airport. So I just want people to know you can't control everything, but you can control some things. So eating those foods, drinking enough water, managing your stress levels, plenty of walking, right? Even taking a rest day, especially when we have these athletes. 80 games a year. They have a lot of inflammation in the body, and there's not enough antioxidants to overcome that. We need rest days. So a true rest day is not just sitting on the couch all day, but it's doing maybe some, mobility work or a little bit of biking just to get things moving from a blood flow standpoint. But inflammation is not something that we need to stress or freak out about. We just need to make sure we eat the right foods to reduce it.
I love that. One of my last questions for you, Wendi, is players are on the go, people, parents, all this stuff, especially hockey parents. You work with a lot of hockey players, and, they're bouncing from one rink to the next, and gyms and school, and they have all these things going on. If you are going to eat out, right? What are your recommendations for somebody grabbing something on the go? Do you have any restaurants that you like, or types of foods that you suggest to players and their parents?
Yes, I actually have 3 healthy eating out guides that they're PDFs you can download from Chipotle, Subway, Starbucks, all those restaurants. So here's what I recommend, and I have a video on this too. Grilled, double up on your protein, never fried, right? Have a fruit cup. So let's just use a Christian restaurant, for example, Chick-fil-A. I really like them. They're great. A lot of our athletes go there. They're everywhere. What we recommend is a grilled chicken sandwich. You could do the fruit cup and then the kale crunch salad. They also have oatmeal. They have a Greek yogurt parfait. They also have grilled nuggets. So they give you, I believe, 8. Yeah, grilled, never fried. There's no reason why you should do fried when you have grilled as an option, because we know fried introduces inflammation, as you just learned, right? So if you're on, game day, tournament, showcases, whatever, we would recommend grilled chicken sandwich. You can do the grilled nuggets. You could get the fruit cup, kale crunch salad. If you want to do fries, that's fine, as long as you have a fruit cup. I always make a deal with our athletes. If you're going to do the fries, that means you've got to do at least a fruit cup and then grilled nuggets. So that's a good way to balance it and be, balanced. Other restaurants like Chipotle, that's a big one too. We always recommend double the protein. Be careful of the rice and beans. If you have too much, it just becomes a lethargic meal. So you want to make sure that you have vegetables in there. You should always have color on your plate for antioxidants and fiber. And then you can have half of it and then have the other half later. And we always tell people, if you're traveling, you always got to keep a cooler in the vehicle with fruit so that you can actually balance that out and make your meals go further for you. Have half of the Chipotle, put the other half in the cooler, and then have your fruit. And then there you have a balanced plate, balanced blood sugar, balanced energy levels. You don't feel terrible. You feel great. And then you have your other half for later.
Absolutely love that. I'm glad you threw the chipper in there, because that's where all you go
That's
to.
all they eat. That's all
you
they
go.
eat.
You go to any any tournament, any showcase, any of those things. Every bus is pulling up to the nearest Chipotle, and every team is in there. So I'm glad that you threw the Chipotle in there for the kids.
Guacamole on the side. I know part of it too, Jeff. I mean, everyone's going to eat out. They're going to grab things, but I'm telling you, I did the costing for a family. They saved $500 in a month by packing a cooler. And I have all this stuff online. It's on the website, string cheeses, yogurt parfaits. You can make smoothies ahead. They put them in a Yeti. You're going to feel better. You're going to perform better. You're going to save money. Hockey is one of the most expensive sports. So if you want to save money, like pack this cooler, it's a win-win. And have Chipotle maybe a little bit less, but you can literally save hundreds of thousands of dollars every year by packing a cooler.
Love that. And I always tell my guys too, and I use the example of Red Robin, because, they're like not too expensive. They got good burgers. Like, have the burger, but if you're going to have the fries, like, also have broccoli, or have, the burger, don't eat the bun, eat the fries, eat the broccoli. Like, you're getting carbs with the fries, you got broccoli. Like make one better decision at every meal. If you hear nothing else, make one better decision at every meal that is something colorful on your plate, and you will notice that you will feel better. When you feel better and your brain starts working better, you're less lethargic, all these different things, you are going to perform better. And it's literally just because you're stabbing better things with your fork. It's like you get addicted to it. You feel better, you perform better. Like, I'm telling you guys, you gotta do this stuff. It will make a massive difference.
Amen. That's well said. One last thing. I feel like we've covered pretty much everything. Nutrient timing, breakfast. Before bed, what we eat directly affects our sleep. And I've had this come up a lot, so I want to touch on it, is just making sure you're not having high fat, high sugar foods before bed. There are two pairings, if anyone wants to write this down: Greek yogurt and cottage cheese, right? There you go, pen. Those are is that our time is up?
No.
Oh,
She's happy. She's happy.
I was like, does that mean we're done? Okay.
Steph loves it. That means keep going.
Okay. So cottage cheese and Greek yogurt, if you don't like those, that's fine. We could also do deli turkey and cherries. So the reason why I recommend those is because we're getting a little bit of protein and a little bit of carbohydrate that supports melatonin production, serotonin levels, so you can get restful sleep. If you eat about 90 minutes before bed, that's the best time. If you do, within 30 minutes, that is not optimal. There was a couple of studies that said 26 less minutes of REM sleep and deep sleep. So that's something to keep in mind, that most people know this, that you don't tend to sleep well when you eat right before bed. But some people may, you need to experiment and say, I could do 2 hours, 90 minutes, but casein protein has been supportive of muscle protein synthesis. So 40 grams, and you could get that through cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. You could also do a supplement, if you will. But I recommend that just because with how many calories you're burning, coaches, parents, athletes, anyone listening to this, you're likely going to need a pre-sleep snack, whether it's the deli turkey, the string cheese, a little bit of cherries, tart cherry juice. Just add in a little bit of something. It doesn't have to be a full meal, but I guarantee you will feel better, and the data supports that too.
And I can 100% attest to that anecdotally. Like, there is no doubt in my mind, if I eat 2 hours to an hour and a half before I go to sleep, and I have that gap before I fall asleep, I wake up so much more refreshed than if I eat and then I fall asleep with the food in my mouth. I'm sleeping while I'm eating. Like, when I do that, I feel like absolute hot garbage when I wake up personally. So moms and dads, I would definitely challenge you guys. I know you're running around. I know that stuff. I know my dad, entrepreneur, his whole life, absolutely grinds. Like, this guy has worked so freaking hard, but he would not eat all day long. And then he would literally eat till he fell asleep and then wake up in the middle of the night and eat again. And I could see how much that affected him. And Dad, if you're listening to this, for the love of God, please, let's not eat right as you're falling asleep. Let's move it back a little bit. I promise you will feel better. Moms and dads out there, I'm telling you, try to get that last meal in, like she said, 90 minutes outside of before you fall asleep. your sleep will be better. 26 minutes less of REM when most of us are underslept. Losing that 26 minutes is a really, really big deal. Better sleep, better everything.
Amen. And those that front load their calories too have a healthier waistline, lower risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke. Our heart health matters. We're talking a lot about kids, but as we get older, I think everybody understands and appreciates their health so much. And, you're depositing into your bone banks, your muscle banks as kids. And then when we're older, right, we're withdrawing. And if you didn't take good care of your body, you don't really have a lot to withhold. And that's why a lot of people are dying earlier. They're getting more diseases. So you can immediately turn things around by just making some of these changes now and not allowing the world or the government or anybody to dictate your health. You are 100% in control of your choices. And the more you sleep, the more you hydrate, the better you eat, the better you're going to feel and the stronger you're going to be when it comes to, injury and illness. I know we will probably have another something on our hands. So the better you are in your health and wellness now, the more you'll be able to handle those things when they come, because they're going to be coming. So be prepared.
And also the other thing too, the saying that I like is the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. So maybe, I'm kind of putting my hand up here. Maybe you haven't focused enough on your nutrition and your sleep and just really taking care of yourself. But why not start today? Or why not start tomorrow? Well, no, let's go with today. Let's go with today, because if you say tomorrow, you're probably not going to do it tomorrow. Let's start today. But I always like that saying, specifically for things like this and for anything health related, because so many people, we are busy. Everybody's busy. And it's like the easiest excuse in the world. I make it pretty much daily. I got 3 kids. I got a lot going on. Okay, I'll do it again. I'll do it tomorrow or whatever. And Wendi, I'm sure you hear that a lot. But it doesn't matter. Whatever happened in the past is in the past. And all you have is the choices, the next choice that you make and the choice that you're making right now. So this has been awesome information. And Vex, I know you got something else to.
I was just going to say, so the next choice you should make should be to follow Wendi on Twitter, Instagram, and go to her website. Wendi, where can they find you?
That's amazing. I'm actually going to challenge you. The first follow, if you're not already, please follow Jesus Christ, because he is the truth, the way, and the light. And then you can choose to follow me. But I follow him. And if you follow me, you're going to want to follow him. He's amazing and he loves you and he will redeem anything. And at any moment you can turn to him. I know there's a lot of people struggling with mental health out there too. And I was one of them years ago. And you're, coming from me, a lot of people have no idea, but I have a very broken past. And if God can fix me, he can fix anything in your life too. So thank you guys so much for having me. It's just been a blessing and an honor.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Wendi. We really appreciate it. Yep.
Absolutely. And so Twitter is it Nutrition
with Wendi?
Where was
going to pop up. So it's, so website nutritionwithwendi.com. My Instagram is Nutrition with Wendi. My Twitter is Wendi Irlbeck. I post a ton of stuff on Twitter. I'm probably, on Twitter way too much, but I just simply want to help people. And it's the best way to share information. But I do have a YouTube page as well. And that's Nutrition with Wendi. We also have a subscription that we just launched this week. So access to our health and performance playbook, sports nutrition presentations. We have a hockey nutrition 101 that we deliver to parents, coaches, athletes. It's something that you can watch. It's pre-recorded. We also do live webinars. We have coaching. So if you're struggling with just education, getting your guys to listen to you, we could say the same thing. They're probably not going to listen to you, but they might listen to us. We have everything that you need, nutritionwithwendi.com.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Wendi. This was great.
Thanks, guys.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.